Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I tell you what, that June 5th episode of General Hospital had me sitting up straight from the first minute. Cullum's gone and taken matters into his own hands, and Liesel's about to pay a steep price for all the commotion she's stirring up. You could feel the trouble building the whole hour, and I kept thinking, Lord, this one's fixing to get real ugly before it's done. Liesel's been like a mama bear whose cub went missing, and she wasn't about to sit still. She tore through Port Charles, hunting every last clue about Britt, her temper flaring hotter with every dead end. It wasn't long before that storm of hers blew straight into Willow's house. She showed up demanding answers about her Britta, and Nina didn't have a single one to offer. What really caught my eye was how quick Liesel spotted the distress signals Drew had been sending out, the very ones Nina and Willow were hoping to keep buried. She didn't fall for their little stories. Instead, she turned right around and warned them that any plans they had cooking could blow up in their faces if they weren't a whole lot more careful. Nina tried her best to calm Liesel down, telling her Britt would reach out before too long. But you could see the fear sitting heavy on Liesel's shoulders, especially knowing Britt's still carrying that Huntington's disease. It tugged at something in me, watching a mother worry like that. Then Liesel got to talking about Willow and Chase, saying plain as day that if the girl wanted him, she'd get him. And before she walked out the door, she gave Nina one last piece of her mind, told her to watch herself because her own daughter was like a venomous snake. I nodded along with that, thinking Nina might be in for more heartache than she ever counted on. All the while, though, Cullum's been moving quiet in the background with big plans of his own, and they've got Britt square in the middle. Britt probably thought she and Rocco slipped away clean, but she left her mama and Cassius sitting right in the line of fire. If Cullum decides to grab hold of Liesel, her life turns a whole lot more dangerous in a hurry. That means Britt's going to have no choice but to come back and face the music if she wants to protect her mother. You don't poke a man like Cullum and expect to walk away easy, not when family's on the line. Liesel flying into that rage and Cullum taking matters into his own hands. Those two moves are bound to send ripples through the whole town. Secrets are bubbling up, threats are turning real, and I've got a sinking feeling that before long, a lot of folks in Port Charles are going to be standing in the ashes wondering how everything burned down around them so fast. And speaking of Cullum, that man has finally had enough. Ever since Britt took off with Rocco, he's been dead set on finding somebody, anybody, to take her place on the last project Faison left behind. You could see it building in him, that quiet frustration turning into something harder. Sidwell, meanwhile, has been all wrapped up in chasing down every lead about Marco's murder, pouring his energy into that case like it was the only thing that mattered. But once the two of them sat down and agreed the project couldn't wait any longer, Cullum decided he wasn't going to keep waiting around for anybody else to fix things. He took the bull by the horns himself. If he couldn't have Britt, then the next best choice was staring him right in the face, her own mother. I felt a little sick when that realization hit me. Liesel had been running herself ragged all over Port Charles, desperate for any scrap of news about her daughter. She'd just finished poking around Britt's office, probably hoping for one small clue that would lead her closer. And there was Cullum, already sitting in the back seat of her car like he'd known exactly where she'd be and when she'd show up. Before she could even react, he had her gagged and quiet. It happened so fast it made my stomach drop. 1 minute she's a mother on a mission, the next she's the one who's been taken. What really gets me is how Liesel's own fire ended up helping Cullum more than she could ever know. All that rage she let loose at Willow's house, the way she barged in, demanding answers about Britt, and then turned around and laid bare every secret Nina and Willow were trying to hide. Those were the very things that gave everybody a ready-made excuse not to go looking too hard when she disappeared. She made herself look like trouble on two legs, the kind of woman who stirs up so much commotion that folks might just shrug and figure she got herself into another mess and took off. Cullum didn't have to lift a finger to cover his tracks. Liesel's desperation to protect her child handed him the perfect cover without her even realizing it. I keep thinking about the cruel twist of it all. Liesel was out there doing everything a mother could do to find her daughter, and in doing so, she walked straight into the trap that's going to pull Britt right back into danger. Now that Liesel's gone missing, the only person who's likely to tear the town apart looking for her is Britt herself. Cullum knew exactly what he was doing when he chose her. He's not just grabbing a replacement for that project, he's pulling the one person who can force Britt to come running home. And with Rocco still out there with her, the stakes feel higher than ever. It's that kind of move that shows how far Cullum's patience is worn thin. He's not waiting anymore, not playing by anybody else's rules. Sidwell might be focused on the murder case, but Cullum's got his eyes on finishing what Faison started, and he's willing to use whoever he has to in order to get it done. Watching Liesl get taken like that made me realize just how alone she really was in that moment. All her bluster and all her warnings to Nina didn't protect her from the one threat she never saw coming. The more I think about it, the more I worry about what comes next. Liesl's been a force of nature in this whole mess, but now she's the one paying the price for Cullum deciding he's had enough. Her own actions storming around Port Charles, exposing secrets, making enemies left and right, have given Cullum exactly the breathing room he needed. Britt's going to have to make a choice soon, and I have a feeling it won't be an easy one. Family or freedom, mother or escape. Cullum's plan is moving forward smoother than he could have hoped, and that quiet certainty of his scares me more than all the shouting and chaos we've seen so far. I sat there after the episode ended, still turning it over in my head. This isn't just about one kidnapping or one missing woman anymore. It's about how one man's patience running out can set off a chain of events that pulls everybody else down with him. Liesl wanted to save her daughter, and instead she may have become the very thing that brings Britt back into the fire. And Cullum? He's finally done waiting. Whatever happens next, I reckon the fallout is going to burn hotter and wider than any of them are ready for. I keep coming back to what this all means for the folks left behind in Port Charles. Willow and Nina are probably sitting there right now telling themselves that Liesl finally got some solid word about Britt and took off to find her. That story would be easy for them to believe, especially now that they know Liesl was already suspicious of them. It gives them the perfect excuse to stop looking. And with Liesl out of the picture, Willow gets exactly what she wants. Nina won't be poking around trying to find her aunt, and Willow can keep pretending everything is under control. The girl's been living in some kind of dream world about Drew and about her own place in all this, and Liesl being gone just makes that fantasy easier to hold on to a little longer. What worries me is that Liesl now knows more than she should about what really happened with Drew. That puts one more person out there who could connect the dots if she ever gets the chance to talk. Willow might think she's safe with Liesl missing, but secrets like that have a way of coming back around when you least expect them. I sat there thinking how fragile the whole thing feels. One woman disappearing and suddenly two other people get to breathe easier, at least for a little while. Then there's Cassius. He might be the only soul in town who actually notices Liesl is gone and starts asking the right questions. And the fact that he's walking around pretending to be Nathan adds a whole other layer to this mess. If he figures out that Liesl got pulled into Cullum and Sidwell's world, he could throw a real wrench in everything they've been planning. One man who looks like somebody else, asking the questions nobody else is asking, that could change the game fast. But here's the part that nags at me. Does Cassius truly care enough about Liesl to risk himself like that, or is he just protecting his own secrets? I don't know the answer, and that uncertainty makes the whole situation feel even more unsteady. One thing I'm sure of after watching that episode is that Liesl has landed herself in deeper trouble than she ever imagined. She went out there as a mother trying to protect her child, and now she's the one who needs saving. Meanwhile, Cullum and Sidwell are getting boxed in tighter and tighter. Every move they make to cover their tracks seems to pull more people into the circle. Britt, Rocco, now Liesl, and maybe even Cassius before it's over. The walls are closing in on those two, whether they see it yet or not. I turned off the television feeling a mix of dread and that strange pull these stories always have on me. Liesl's in real danger. The people who think they've won a little breathing room may be fooling themselves, and the ones pulling the strings are running out of places to hide. It's the kind of knot that's only going to get tighter before anybody can loosen it, and I'll be right here next time, waiting to see who ends up paying the highest price when it all starts to unravel.